Why are so few Christians talking about this? Christian music and worship music are not the same thing. There's been a surge in the overall quality and craft of Christian music over the last 20 years. The Christian music world is long past the days of beehive hairstyles, bad album covers, and poorly chosen names. But does an overall increase in quality and production mean better actual, faithful worship music? Dr. Michael Rhodes recently published a study where he compared the music of the Psalm to the top 25 Christian worship songs currently on the charts today. And this is what he found. When looking through the Psalms on nearly every single page of the Bible, the Psalter uses language to describe the poor. Modern worship songs in the top 25, zero mention of the poor. In 33 different Psalms, mishpat, the Hebrew word for justice, is used 65 times. In the top 25 songs, it's mentioned once. In the Psalms, physical enemies are the third most common figure, but as a physical entity, they are never not once mentioned in the top 25. And when enemies are mentioned, they're only mentioned in a spiritual sense. And the Psalms are filled with references to widows, refugees, and the oppressed. Top 25 worship songs, currently, orphans are mentioned twice, and only as spiritual orphans. And the absolute worst part of Dr. Rhodes' findings, the Psalms are filled with singers crying out to and asking questions of God. In fact, in ancient Hebraic music, asking reverent questions of God was an established practice, especially in regard to asking God to act on behalf of the oppressed. But in the top 25, no one asks God anything. Basically, top 25 worship music is all about me, and how God makes me feel, what he does for me. Whereas the Psalms weren't always inward focused, but were often outwards focused on the plight of others, and also the magnificence of God. So you can say, well, Ken, God's doing a new thing in this day and age, and music has changed. What would you know about any of this? And sure, that's a good point. But worship music should be about, worship of God. Not just of what God can do for me, but who God is and what he does for the oppressed. It's like we've forgotten that whole part. Yes, I know some Psalms do talk about what God can do for me. Absolutely. But what I am saying is that's not what worship music should be all about. Look, I know it sounds like I'm banging on modern worship music, but I'm really not. My wife is a phenomenal worship artist and has led worship all over the world. Just this month, she's laid down tracks with artists in the UK, the US, and even Nicaragua. Some of my dearest friends are award-nominated worship artists whose music you download daily. I love music, but a lot of these so-called worship songs that are right now being played en masse in churches all over the world, they're not worship songs. It's Christian-themed music, but it's not worship music. So maybe it comes down to classification. Maybe we should think of it as Christian music and worship music, because they are distinctly different things. Worship music should draw us into an encounter with God, where we take our eyes off of just ourselves and place them upon God, where God releases to us his heart for us and for others. Like, the oppressed, the hurting, the broken, the shamed, those that society's turned away from, shunned, and judged. The ones Jesus liked to hang around. Just a thought. I'm interested in hearing your comments, so post them up and click on the pinned videos for more.